Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on The Rape of Lucrece, which, content warning, is about sexual violence towards women, so if you need to tune out, I totally understand. If you want to hear today's stanzas, we're going to look at stanzas 121 to 124, which is in the middle of Lucrece's grief over what has just happened. She has been raped by sexist Tarquinius, and he ran away because he didn't want to have to deal with it, because now all of the things that he had been worrying about prior to raping her that he thought at the time, no big deal, but all of those things are sort of crashing down on him, like, how am I going to rule? How am I going to be king? He doesn't want to deal with any of that, so he ran away and is hoping that the new day will come, because new day, new life, nobody has to know all of that stuff, whereas she is hoping that day will never come because she's mired in this guilt, and she knows that as soon as the daylight dawns, people are going to see it all over her that she has been shamed and misused and all of these things, and she doesn't know how to hide that. And in yesterday's stanzas, she was talking about some level of grief in terms of dishonoring Collatine by being raped, which I think is maybe, and this is my own personal opinion, maybe sort of like misplaced grief. It's not her fault that she was raped. She tried very hard to not be raped, but he went ahead and did it anyway. So the fact that she feels like this is now her shaming Collatine is a little bit weird, but she did get to the point of saying, you know, like, this was an evil wasp that got into the bee's nest and did this sort of without my permission, without my acknowledgement, all of that kind of thing. And Sonnet 121 picks up there by saying, "Yet am I guilty of thy honor's rack. Yet for thy honor did I entertain him. Coming from thee, I could not put him back, for it had been dishonor to disdain him. Besides, of weariness he did complain him, and talked of virtue. Oh, unlooked for evil, when virtue is profaned in such a devil. Why should the worm intrude the maiden bud? Or hateful cuckoos hatch in sparrows' nests? Or toads infect fair founts with venom mud? Or tyrant folly lurk in gentle breasts? Or kings be breakers of their own behests? But no perfection is so absolute that some impurity doth not pollute. The aged man that coffers up his gold is plagued with cramps and gouts and painful fits, and scarce hath eyes his treasure to behold, but like still pining Tantalus he sits, and useless barns the harvest of his wits, having no other pleasure of his gain but torment, that it cannot cure his pain. So then he hath it when he cannot use it, and leaves it to be mastered by his young, who in their pride do presently abuse it. Their father was too weak, and they too strong, to hold their cursed blessed fortune long. The sweets we wish for turn to loathed sours, even in the moment that we call them ours." So she's still trying to work her way through all of this, to make sense out of it, to reason her way out of it, to come to peace with what has happened. And in the first of these stanzas, she comes to a very interesting point, if not a conclusion, that she feels guilty about dishonoring Collatine by having been raped, but also, you know, Collatine isn't home right now, and sexist Tarquinius came there as a guest, as a friend, speaking of virtue. It would have also been a blight against Collatine for her to have turned him away at that point. And then she gets into the, you know, why do people want to destroy beautiful things? Why does a worm eat a flower? Why do toads bring mud into beautiful fountains? All this sort of stuff. Why is perfection always ruined? And she's like, you know, because perfection, there is no such thing as perfection. Nothing can be truly great. And when we have the things that we really want, like imagine Scrooge McDuck. He has all the money in the world, but he's Scrooge McDuck. He's not nice, he's not friendly, he's not welcoming, except to maybe his nephews, you know. And her point here is somebody who has all of this gold is so afraid of losing it that he becomes mean and miserly and cruel and all these things, because he's so afraid of losing this gold. He's so afraid of sharing this gold. He has this thing that he thought was going to be great, but this thing can't cure whatever hole it is that he has in his heart. So he just turns into a man who still wants and is grasping for and is trying to reach this other stuff. So people get this stuff that they can't actually use and that they can't actually enjoy. And I feel like at this point she's getting into sort of Sextus Tarquinius's state of mind now. You know, he wanted her so badly, so desperately. He ignored all the signs saying that he shouldn't go ahead with raping her, that he went ahead and had her, but now that's still a bad thing. The fact that he had her, this thing that was supposed to be sweet, has now turned sour like the instant that he had it. So it's a very interesting, at least to me, it's an interesting journey that she's on, and it's one that a lot of us have probably been on before when we, I don't know, have a one-night stand that we shouldn't have had, or eat the cake that we didn't feel we should have eaten, or whatever. That moment when, you know, you're like, oh, never mind, I'm gonna do this thing that I really want to do, and then the instant that you do it, you regret it. She's getting to understand that point of view, which I don't know if that speaks to her intelligence or if that's Shakespeare trying to humanize Sextus Tarquinius through Lucretia's eyes. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a combination of the two. But anyway, she's still got a little ways to go on her mental journey through the grieving of this whole thing. So come on back tomorrow for more. I'll see you then. Mwah.